Please be seated. Because we've spent quite some time here, so I wouldn't want to bore you with a lengthy protocol. And so I have to adopt the protocol of the founder. He said that it's not good at protocol, but you did a perfect job because you recognize everybody. Let us join you to also appreciate the governors that are here being represented by very distinguished Nigerians. Thank you so much. And of course, our distinguished senator from Kenya, and other senators are here, Binta and others are here with us. Thank you for being here. And our powerful woman leader in PDP and former Minister of Women Affairs, and one of the mother of the day. Thank you so much. And Pauline Tallinn, yes, I saw, yeah, two powerful women there. We are former ministers. And Pauline was a former Minister of Science for the protocol, because we really want to listen to the conversation by those who will really lead the show today. So I thank Haske Satumari Foundation, the organizers of this colloquium, for inviting me and inviting all of us to come and have a conversation on this very, very topical issue. I'm quite impressed with the topic that focuses on promoting social change and empowerment through diversity, equity, and inclusion, the traditional DEI issue. Just like the founder said, when I look at the array of speakers, the keynote speakers, and so on, I'm quite pleased that the conversation today will be good, especially relating to what is currently happening in the country regarding River State. As we gather here today, we are reminded that the pursuit of social change is a continuous journey, one that requires a collective effort, commitment, and perseverance. The theme of this colloquium is timely and relevant as we seek to address the present issue of our time, from inequality and bigotry to social injustice and marginalization. I believe that it is mark of good leadership and governance to be able to leverage the transformative power of diversity, equity, and inclusion for social change. As a leader, I have seen how these values can bring people together, foster a sense of belonging, and unlock the full potential of individuals and communities. And that is why till today, I think I appointed more women into office than any other president. Because the issue of inclusivity is critical. However, I have also seen how the absence of these values can lead to division, inequality, and social unrest. It is therefore a responsibility as leaders and change makers to promote a culture of diversity and inclusion, one that values and respects the dignity and worth of every human being and protects the interests of all of us. We must not forget that societies that embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion are more innovative, resilient, and harmonious. I know this because I saw how policies that promoted gender equality, youth empowerment, and regional balance during my time as president helped bridge divides and foster national unity. I am glad that the Haske Satumari Foundation is committed to this noble cause, and I commend the foundation's effort towards promoting social change and empowerment through its various initiatives. Today's colloquium is a testament to this commitment, and I'm confident that our discussions and deliberations will yield valuable insights and recommendations in this regard. And I did mention that what is happening in the country, everybody talks about River State on television, and some of these are the issues we discuss. We're talking about building a society where no one is oppressed, as reflected in the top paragraph of our national anthem. As a former president and also from the Niger Delta, when the issue of suspending the governor came up, I think people call on me, oh, President Jonathan, oh, President Obasanjo, you should say something. People expected us to say something about what is happening. And of course, people don't even know that traditionally all over the world, former presidents hardly make statements about what the current presidents are doing because of the tension it could create in the country. In most cases, look at America, look at everywhere. So hardly for former presidents to make, sometimes you see and you believe. And of course, what is happening in Nigeria today regarding the situation in River State is like an Indian proverb that said that if somebody is sleeping, really sleeping, you can easily wake up that person. But if the person is pretending to sleep, you find it difficult to wake up that person. The key actors in Nigeria, from executive to the legislature, luckily Senator Binta and others are here, and the judiciary, they know the correct thing to do. But they are refusing to do it. They are pretending to sleep. And waking such a person is extremely difficult because the person knows the right thing. A clear abuse of offices, clear abuse of power, clear abuse of privileges, cutting across from the three arms of government, from the executive to the parliament to the judiciary. And I always plead with our people that whatever we do affects everybody. And sometimes we do things and we think that it doesn't affect us. I've been a president before, and even after leaving office as a former president, people get to me. Why is that our passport is not valued that much? Why is that Nigerians are not given the kind of treatment we're supposed to receive at the international airports? Sometimes we think it's because of Yahoo boys or 419ers. No, not only them. Yes, they are part of the problem. But whatever happens in a country, decisions that are taken by the executive arm of government, decisions that are taken by the parliament, judicial decisions affect everybody. For example, no businessman can bring his money to invest in a country where the judiciary is compromised, where a government functionary can dictate to judges what judgment they will give. No man brings his money to invest in that account because we are taking a big risk. So whatever we do affects everybody. And if we must build a nation for our children and our grandchildren, no matter how painful it is, we must strive to do what is right. It may cost us, but we must endeavor and pay the price to insist on doing what is right. Whether you're holding an executive office as a president, a minister, or a governor, or a special advisor, or executive, whether you're holding an office in the parliament, senate, or rep, whether you're a judicial officer at the high courts or appellate courts, we must strive to do what is right. If we want to build a nation that our children will be proud of. As we engage in these discussions, let us remember that promoting social change is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. It requires a sustained commitment, collective action, and unwavering dedication to the values that promote good governance. Let us also recognize that social change is a shared responsibility, one that requires the active participation and engagement of all stakeholders, including civil society, the private sector, and governments. In conclusion, I want to again express my gratitude to the Haske Satumari Foundation for convening this colloquium, and I appreciate all of you, especially a sister who came all the way from Kenya, as she has been introduced. If you are ticking the boxes for people that are supposed to be here, she filled all the gaps. Thank you for coming. And thank you from what you told me yesterday, said that Nigeria is the first West African country you have visited. So you are welcome. And I hope you will enjoy Abuja. and we listen to you, and we listen to all others. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.